Good morning, Phenom Crypto Letter subscribers. Eric Muschinski. I am your actual editor and owner of this site. And I have not communicated with free members directly in a bit. We have our weekly updates that come out from Will, our analyst here, who does a good job with that to keep you on top of what's happening in crypto. I would suggest you see if this is worthwhile for you to stay in touch with Phenom Crypto Letter and or even consider our premium service to get more information as we go through this bear market in crypto. See if I know what I'm talking about, if there is a way to bank from the environment that we're in. And I'm going to lay out what I'm doing, what I think, and what you can do if you're on the same page. Even if you're not on the same page, somebody's going to be right and somebody's going to be wrong. I would tell you that this particular bear cycle, it's been a little bit different, but I think that a lot of us, and I toyed with this, so I'm somewhat guilty as well, because even with regard to like altcoins, my portfolios are pretty smashed. But I've been through this before with crypto and with other sectors, but with crypto in particular, I've been through numerous cycles. I first bought Bitcoin at $450 in 2016, and I've rode through, numerous cycles. The one that I'm going to talk a little bit about is what this is sort of giving me a reminder of, which is 2018, 2019, after we hit that 20,000 level, going into 2018 at the end of 2017. And the strategy that I ended up implementing that made me more money than I've ever made in my life, times many. And it was from what I'm going to share with you on how to do that in this crypto market, because it's the same shit. You have bull markets, you have bear markets. We basically, the thing I was talking about being guilty of is we extended the 4-year cycle in our head. Well, because of Trump, because of the ETFs, because of this, because of that, this cycle is going to extend and it's going to go well into 2026. What was not really anticipated that well in the community is that things were going to fall apart first and do it on schedule after the halving and what other cycles have looked like. This is right on target, where you don't have this belief or need to believe that we're going to have an extended bull cycle. We're in a bear market. It's a bad bear market, particularly for altcoins. And some of these altcoins are now getting to the point where, they're just trading for nothing. And this is not an environment, first of all, you do not sell your crypto in this environment whatsoever. Unless you have huge gains as you go through the year and crypto's still down and it's an area that you can sell and, avoid a wash sale and 30 days later, buy your positions back from a strategic standpoint. Other than that, I am a buyer, and my buying goes like this. Bitcoin is going a lot higher. I am very pleased that it's come down so far, giving me an opportunity to beef up my positions slowly and steadily, and also in pieces. This is the same thing I did in 2018, 19, and into 20 when we had the COVID crash. And that was simply, and this is for those of you that you really want, you want to, I make money in my investment portfolio. Over time, I'm a profitable, very profitable investor. We happen to be in a really good position over here because the other half of my portfolio and business is in gold, silver, mining stocks. That's been my primary avenue, goldinvestmentletter.com, for the past 15 years. Almost, I launched it ago. And it was, a period of time that was sort of a top in that market, in the gold market and the mining market and the rare earth elements. And that whole narrative started to really peak in the fall of 2011. So then the next 4 years was a bear cycle that was brutal. But I made it through that as well and stayed and got more bullish the longer that the correction went and the deeper the correction went, where I could evaluate companies and their assets and know that they were trading for massive discounts. And I did whatever I could. This is where the important point about having cash is and income. Even if you don't have a stash of money, I'm going to tell you what I've done to make a lot of money that you can too, because one of the biggest keys, and this might be too late for some of you that have made this mistake this time around, I don't know, but hopefully you haven't. Position sizing. Okay. I tend, when I make a recommendation, particularly in premium, or whether it's with stocks, mining stocks, commodities, cryptocurrencies, whatever it may be, when I take an entry position, I tend to buy about half of what I want to own at that price and leave some dry powder for accumulation. Whether you pay up or down, the fact is, in that particular scenario, you want it to go down. If you really are going to be correct, do you want to own more of something cheaper and have extra, or do you need it to pop right away to make you feel like you're making money, make it like you're feeling good? Even though, for example, in those cases, the way that I think about it is that I want to have half on just in case I'm right and I'm very close to the bottom. Uh, my track record in all this stuff is I tend to be early, and early can be frustrating for people. I'm going to give you a couple of examples, but also I just want to let you know that when Bitcoin was about to break 84,000, I put an alert out to our premium members that I became fully hedged in crypto and that I was short Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a lot of other plays in my portfolio. And if we had broken 84,000, that we were going fairly substantially lower, most likely. And so, you know, I haven't talked to many of the premium members that got that alert and whether or not they hedged. But that's the type of thing that we do here at Phenom Crypto, certainly in the premium letter. And there are individual cryptocurrencies in our portfolio that I have been buying, some of them in the alt market, but slowly, because we don't know if this is yet the ultimate bottom. That flush to 60,000 a couple of weeks back, it could have been the bottom. I am starting to think there's a good chance, a better than 50-50 chance that this correction will last into the early fall, which means that we would have time and then also price capacity for, say, one final scary flush into the 40s on Bitcoin. We'll see. But I would welcome it because right now I have on 7 or 8 cryptocurrencies in my Coinbase account. One of the things that an app like that is good for on the retail side is that you can do auto accumulation. You can set it up so that you buy daily, weekly, bi-monthly, or monthly. So for example, right now I have an auto accumulate. When I talk about position sizing, I own a lot of Bitcoin. I own a lot of crypto. I have a lot of money in crypto and I have it in different areas. And it was over half of my net worth when it was, a year ago. Uh, and then we've had this big rip in gold, silver, and mining stocks where now that has become 65, 70% of my portfolio because we've had 10 baggers and 3 baggers and 5 baggers in the mining stocks. It's a very exciting area that is really just, I think, getting going in their bull market. And so if that's of interest, goldinvestmentletter.com, you can get at least our free e-letter. But we're more active there, but I want to become more active here as we go lower and or the correction lasts longer. And then into when we finally start to see a new bull cycle emerge, we're going to be all over it. And we're going to be deploying capital more aggressively. But in Bitcoin, I didn't check it this morning, but I believe I have like $700 a week that gets deducted out of my checking account to accumulate Bitcoin. And my thought there is that the longer the correction lasts, the lower the correction goes, the more that I will accumulate. Listen, I am not a day trader. We're not high frequency traders. We're not quants. This isn't an algorithm play. I am a long-term investor. I also do swing trading. Swing trading is when, say a position looks like it can move up in the interim 30, 40, 50, 60% in 2 weeks to 2 months, call it that range. I do swing trade as well, but that's not day trading. And I think day trading and trying to trade your way to outperform crypto is a losing philosophy, and you're going to get your teeth kicked in by this market. It's too volatile. Even the best of pros, it doesn't matter if you pick bottoms or if you buy something. The best way to make money is to do it where you actually keep an open mind to how long it will take to work out. Really quick example, and then I'm going to give you a few action points. And this is an update for all of you just on my thoughts in general on the crypto market and Bitcoin, which I feel like now I have a better handle on than when we were, ranging around 90, 100, 110,000. It just did not feel, it felt like we needed a tree shake, and we got it. And so a lot of Johnny come latelys that came in this market, including the ETF buyers, they are getting flushed out. They're giving up. This is when we flourish at the Phenom Crypto Letter because, for example, there's a publicly traded company called Soul Strategies, used to be called Cypherpunk Holdings. This is a penny, it was a penny stock, and it was a penny stock that I realized during 2024, 2023, and 2022. This thing was mainly trading at a discount to the crypto they had on the books, meaning a discount, their balance sheet, their market cap was a discount to what they had in the balance sheet. In addition to that, different venture capital investments that weren't liquid but had value. And the team and the people behind it, I had vetted, and they are crypto OGs. The management team and the directors have turned over a bit since it matured, because now I believe they're one of the biggest validators on the Solana network. And they were a generalist play that I mainly covered. I covered it here. So if you were here going back into 2023, you heard me recommend Cypherpunk as one of two stocks only that I recommended and bought in size versus buying the actual crypto. And it was Galaxy Digital, Mike Novogratz company, that we initially started buying after it went public in the Canadian markets between $1 and $1.50 Canadian. In the last bull run, it went into the 40s. I think it's still trading now in the high 20s, low 30s. So we made a fortune on that. And Cypherpunk had one run. We had gotten involved in a private placement before it made the run, but it underperformed most cryptocurrencies in 2021. So then I recalibrated and we started to accumulate. I recommended accumulating more, or certainly not selling, when Cypherpunk was carving out its long base low during 23, 24, and was trading as low as like 6 cents Canadian. So if you want the US price, you just multiply that by 0.73. So call it four cents or so USD. Between there and 15 cents Canadian, so 11 cents USD, you could buy it on the US OTC or the Canadian market. I accumulated a position. I held stock that I never sold that went up and came all the way back down. I've had that happen to me before, and I don't give a fuck, because the bottom line is I stuck with it. There was conviction that this was going to go back up, just like I have that Bitcoin is going to go to all-time highs in due time. Why get into the predictions of where exactly it's going to go? I don't exactly know. I mean, there's a lot of different models that you can look at and take a good educated guess, but it's going to be at new highs. So if it's going to new highs, and it's not going to just go a little bit above its old highs. So if you get a move closer to 200,000 in the next bull cycle, you're tripling your money here, and you have time. That's the beauty of this. For many of us, you need to free up cash to accumulate positions that once it goes up, you actually bank real profits and real money, and you can afford to sell, say, a third and a triple of your cost average, get your principal risk out of the deal. If you're overweighted, especially in any one of these particular bets, save the second tranche for when things really start to go and get a little bit ahead of themselves in the next cycle, and maybe Bitcoin goes up to 400,000. When it's frothy, maybe take that second tranche off. The third tranche, don't ever freaking sell it. Like, keep it. Bitcoin is a network effect that is growing, is going to continue to grow, and it is the future financial system foundation of what's happening versus the fiat market. I just want to say one thing about gold versus Bitcoin, because these are the two most involved markets that I'm in, because my background is to study what is money, to store value, to get ahead with the messed up situation that we have with fractional reserve and central banking, with fiat money, get ahead instead of just getting squashed and not knowing why. And gold, there's a time where I'm going to have some of my physical gold that I'm going to peel off. And I think it's soon. Probably gold goes to around 6,000 this year. And Bitcoin hopefully goes lower. And I will actually do what the opposite of what I did in November of 2021, October, November of 2021, when we hit that second double top in the 60s. I was dumping crypto with both hands and buying with most of that money. I bought physical gold, put it into cash and real estate because I had made enormous returns. And that was just on the Bitcoin, and some of that stuff I owned at, 800 bucks or 2,000 or $4,000 of Bitcoin. So that was a big hit. But man, the altcoins were even crazier, much, much more money. So I realized, like, look, the world's piling in. I got to start to lighten up, and I've got to put these in other asset classes. But yet I've always held a core position in crypto and rode it all the way down. I've got a feel for these markets by doing that. I don't give a shit because it's only a portion. It's already all on the house from when I got involved in crypto. This is all house money that I play with. So whatever. And psychologically, that's important. But what happened with Cypherpunk? They turned the strategy into building on Solana, made it a bit of a mini micro strategy because Solana ETFs not available going into this was like August of 24 going into January of 25 when the stock went from, I'll pull it up just to be sure, but the stock had gone from like 13 cents Canadian, 12 cents Canadian. I had been updating with a lot of our premium members. And there we go, Soul Strategy. A lot of our premium members, even at the Gold Investment Letter. And yeah, so this thing had based, it was a perfect basing all through 23, 24. I'm telling you this because after the stock ended up exploding between August and so this is split adjusted, but it went up 60 fold. Okay. 60 fold. So 11, 12 cents to like $6 and change, I believe, was at that time. Now it had a reverse split, and it's almost all the way back down. I'm going to take a look at Soul Strategies again. I own like such a modest amount. I was very vocal in terms of taking profits as we went higher. I took some profits too soon, but I had a very large position and it made me a ton of money. The fact of the matter is, though, when I went back to a lot of subscribers and investors that I know, uh, even like my elite members that we get private placements and deals, discounts, warrants, things like that in the mining companies and mining stocks that we coordinate together as part of the service because you can make a tremendous amount of extra profit with warrants. Um, I was like, look, we've been in a bear market for 4 years in the junior miners, but in 3, 4 months, as long as you had an allocation in HODL, in Cypherpunk, aka Soul Strategies, all of your problems were cured in like 3 months, 4 months. And the thing that gets me so frustrated about the business and working with you as a newsletter writer, some of you, you guys make your own decisions on when and what you buy and sell. I can give hopefully valuable guidance at certain times and ideas that I find that I can share with you that you may not have had time to isolate. But many people gave up in 2024 or even back in late 23, and they sold their stock in hodl because it wasn't doing anything. Patience, my friends, patience. It's a big virtue in this game. So now I think that I want to let you know just a couple of things. So I believe that it's worth turning on the auto accumulate with a modest amount. So you plan on the correction lasting for at least another 6 to 9 months. What can you afford to buy on a weekly basis? It could be 20 bucks worth. It doesn't matter because when you have an asset that you bought that ends up going up 5, 10, 50, 100x in time, you don't need to have a ton of money in it to make it turn into a lot of money. Okay. That's the whole point. So auto accumulate. And the more you can do, the big key, though, I think, is just that you're not going to buy too much. That if this lasts a while and it goes down and you have your cut off from other income sources or your savings starts to get depleted, I made a personal promise to myself back in, I think it was 2016 or 17, after a big correction in a sector that I had a lot of my money. And my businesses were ramping up and they were volatile in terms of like revenue. I had employees, I had costs and things like that. And this had happened to me earlier in my career as a young stockbroker and things like that, where I would get overzealous in investments. They wouldn't work out in time. They would actually get flushed with the overall market. And then my income would go down. And I would, instead of being able to buy this stuff for nothing, I didn't have cash on the side and I had to puke my shit out to pay my bills. So just don't be that person. Just don't be that person. Anything that you can buy now over the course of the coming months, hoping that Bitcoin gets cheaper before it gets more expensive. So you have more time to buy more, accumulate more cheaply, and that you don't buy too much so that you end up getting pressured into dumping it too early. Do it on your terms. So it's better to accumulate less position sizing amounts, but be able to do it properly versus overly doing or trying to pick the bottom. There's nobody I know who's, the best traders in the world, investors in the world. None of us, and I say us because I think I'm one of them. I do not care if I pick bottoms. Usually, when I do hit a bottom, it's inadvertently because I'm already accumulating, and one of the buys goes in right at the bottom bid because I'm already active and down with unrealized losses. But you don't need to sell at tops. You don't need to buy at absolute bottoms. But getting in the ballpark is very important with a good portion of your capital. Crypto will come back with a vengeance. And I think that we're going to start to see, before Bitcoin, starts to catch its bottom. Again, like I said, I'm looking at various technicals and charts and things that I look at in these markets. And I'm thinking that we probably have a little bit more pain to go through. And that means opportunity for those that have cash or can make cash and accumulate during that bottoming out phase. And then there's going to be a ton of upside in some of these altcoins that survive, that have gone to nothing, and picking through that rubble and even putting. So, what I did last week, the week before, and just today, I take money from my MEXC account, which is where I put all the, or many of the small, little, tiny plays that we cover in premium, uh, is smashed. Again, this is all on the house. I mean, I put like a few hundred grand in there over time. It turned into the well over 1 million in the last couple of years, several times. And I took money and got my principal out of there, played it on the house. But my account from the last high that it was, call it a year ago, $1 million, 1.2 million, is worth less than $200,000. And I've been adding money these last weeks, 7 grand here, 5 grand there, 4 grand there. I'm running it through Coinbase. I'll send Tether over there and I'll just go through my top positions, make sure they're still active on X and have a pulse. And the ones that do, because I've done a lot of research on these plays, I just I put in 400, 500. This is the same thing that I did in 2019 and during the COVID crash of 2020 in coins like Theta, which I bought at a low of 5 or 6 cents in 2020 and bought at those prices in 2019. That went to 13 bucks. Phantom Wallet, half a penny, went to almost $4. You're talking about 400x moves. Uh, Quant, I had, it was 8 tokens between 125 and 650 times my money. And the way that that happened was because of the actions that I took in markets like we have now, not later. Now, do you get it? Please follow us on YouTube. This is a newer channel. I don't do these videos often, but if we see a good response from our free members, and our premium certainly should already be subscribed, I'll put some things out a bit more often. I hope this was helpful to you. I am a very big believer in Bitensor, the Tau AI open source ecosystem. I believe it's going to be a top 8 or 7 coin in the next 3 to 4 years. So it's under 200. I've been buying it since, like, it was, I think, 250. It went up into like 500. I bought it into the 400s. I've been buying it all the way down. I'm happy to continue to buy it. The lower it goes, the happier I am, the more that I'll just find money and make sure that I'm accumulating it, because I think that thing could go to a minimum of 5,000 and could be a very disruptive scenario in the world of AI. And the cryptocurrency part of it is really secondary. They need more traction, but this feels to me the same way that Bitcoin did in terms of the fuzziness of people's conviction and what's going on there. It feels like Bitcoin in 2016 to me. That's a big one. Last one, if you want a flyer that I think has a lot of value, I'm not going to get into a ton here, but I am going to get into more details for premium members. The privacy coins, have had big runs. You got the Zcash, you've got Monero. They're going to end up having another, I think, big stage to run on, particularly when we get into another bull cycle in the altcoins. But they certainly could outperform. And I found one called Pirate Chain. ARRR is the symbol. It is it's a fully diluted valuation, market cap of like 48 million bucks. It's trading at 24 cents. And I think that this one, with no downtime and very good privacy, is a sleeper in the privacy arena, undiscovered, but has a great track record. And I would put it right under or around quality of Monero, which has an enormous market cap compared to this. And I'd put it up there with Zcash from what I understand so far. And I'm still looking into it, but I'm long 200,000 Pirate Chain, and it is now, I believe, cheaper or around the price of my cost average. I think it's cheaper than my cost average. So you can buy some Pirate Chain and chill. Okay. If you want a good altcoin, a privacy coin to accumulate, put your target on. This is one of those that could, I think, be at least 10x. It could go 100x into a better environment. So that's it for today. You can join and buy Pirate Train. I'll give you the affiliate link, which I appreciate, but it's also a discount to you and a payback to you, a kickback of any commissions you pay on MEXC, and you'll get approved quickly. And you can fund that account if you're around the world. If you're in the US, it's a little tougher, KYC, AML. These are issues, but fund your account, put some Tether over there, buy some Pirate Chain, and you'll get a discount on your commissions. And I appreciate it, and have a good day.